Hey, there we go. We are live. We are live. We are live. What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday night. It is time for Hits and Heels. And y'all know I always have a great guest. So, for those of you that are just tuning in, my name is Coach Terry Bryant. I'm a football coach here in Lexington, Kentucky, where the home of the Kentucky Wildcats are. So, if you're familiar with basketball or football, um, it's the home of the Kentucky Wildcats. I have a guest that is from Kentucky that is also an alum from the University of Kentucky. My son plays for Kentucky football as a safety. My husband played at Kentucky. He was a wide receiver and a DB at Kentucky back in the day. And so Miss Jo Ann Pugh is notable as the 50-yard line mom. She has that trademark. That is her brand and her brand only. And so she's going to come and talk about the health part of football and give her whole story. But JoAnn, thank you for coming to Hits and Heels. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on, but I am so ready to hear your story.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's an absolute treat to talk to someone from Kentucky on a
Yes.
Wednesday evening in October. So I really am happy to be here.
Thank you. So get us started. So let's start with you. Let's talk about you first, your background.
Yes, well, I think you shared. I was raised in Kentucky. Actually, I was born in Pennsylvania. My
Okay.
mother was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. My father from a little town called Monticello, Kentucky. It is at the foothills of the Appalachia Mountains. And what's really funny? I just realized that I was from Appalachia. you know, it
Oh
just
wow.
dawned on me. So I grew up in Monticello, which is Wayne County. Wayne County is the county seat. And very interesting childhood. That part of the country is, the social economic status is not as great as one would like. So I grew up pretty poor. And sometimes you don't
Mm,
realize that you're poor until you kind of
yeah.
move out of the area and get exposed to some things. But I often tell everyone that in the county of Wayne, that there is just a handful, and when I was growing up, really a handful of blacks.
Black people. Mm.
And it's so funny, Terry, that when I tell people I'm from Kentucky, they look at me and they say, "You're from where?" And I know what they're thinking. They're thinking,
Because there's a perception.
they actually live in Kentucky. Yes, there's a handful of us. But anyway, I really appreciated the opportunity to grow up there because it gave me a lot of initiative and a lot of drive. I am a daughter of a young teenage mom. And by the time she was 19 years old, she had 4 kids. And I will tell you that she did not have a high school education, nor did my father. I started working when I was 10 years old, and I was cleaning homes for my teachers and, the ladies in the town. And I can remember so vividly that one day on a Saturday morning, I was at this lady's home and I was cleaning, and she asked me to go into her bathroom and clean her bathroom. And she said, "Honey, get down on the floor and I want you to clean behind the commode." And I said, "Yes, ma'am," because that's what you do. And I can remember at 10 years old being there doing that. And I said to myself, there's got to be a better life, and I'm going to find it. And it gave me the motivation and drive. I give a lot of credit to that lady who
Mm.
inspired me to do something different. So I ended up leaving the hometown and going to college. I got a degree in nursing, went on to get a degree in business, started out working in Cincinnati, Ohio as a nurse. So that's where the healthcare background comes in. Then went into industry in corporate America and worked for some very, very large Fortune 100 and 500 corporations in various roles up to executive level roles. So always within that healthcare industry, healthcare environment, got married, had two children, a son and a daughter. Son's the oldest. And my husband was an athlete in high school. He
Mhm.
went to Grambling University, and he said that he had an opportunity to get on the team at Grambling. It lasted one day. He said he saw those guys, they were so big, and he said, and I know they hit hard. So he left, and that was the end of his football career. But my son, at the age of 8, I can remember we were out of town on vacation, and we were at a beach, and he came out of the water and he gave this great big strong man pose, and he looked at my husband and I, and he said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be an NFL player. You have to realize that he was about this big around, just a little
Right.
skinny thing. And I said, oh, that's wonderful, son, that's wonderful. But in the meantime, let's think about what else you might want to do. And he was determined, even at that age, that he knew what he wanted to do. We were determined not to push him in any direction, but to support him. Long story short, he became a star high school athlete. He ended up with, I think, 32 Division I scholarship offers. He chose Texas A&M University, and that's where he went to school. We graduated in 3.5 years. And my message to him was, son, you're going to a good school. You're going to get a great education. You just happen to play football.
Mm.
So if that's what you want to do, I want you to know that that's plan B, because plan A is the opposite. And so he worked extremely hard. As I say, he graduated in 3.5 years. So that year when everyone was trying to graduate and work for the draft, all he had to do was focus on the draft. So
Mm.
that's kind of the backstory of, who I am, my immediate journey that led up to what I do now in terms of advocating for athletes. And you had mentioned that I have an organization, a company. It's called the 50-Yard Line Mom. And the 50-Yard Line Mom is all about improving and enhancing the overall healthcare and well-being of athletes at all levels of their sports journey. And that includes their parents or those that are in that guardianship of those young men and women. It's called the 50-Yard Line Mom, but obviously expands well beyond just the sport of football.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like that's a short version of a very, very long journey.
I love it. Okay, so tell us what when you talked about the support of your son and just supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like? Like, what does support look like? Like, because I think we have a lot of parents that sometimes we kind of get that wrong on what support should look like to prepare your son to want to go to that next level. Because every level it gets higher. When you start off at Pee Wee, it's and you get to middle school, it's a different beast. When you go from middle school to high school, it's a different beast. When you go from high school to college, it's a different beast. And definitely once you go from college to the pros. Can you walk us through what the support need to look like to prepare our son to get to that level? Each
Yeah,
level.
that's a real interesting question, because I will tell you, as I reflect back on it, I think sometimes we as parents get support and discipline a little mixed up.
Yes, ma'am.
Discipline is support. Okay. One of the things that my husband and I were very, very focused on was that this would have to be my son's dream and not mine.
Mm-hmm.
We were not going to live our dream through our son. So we were very, very fortunate that Jordan, my son, was very athletic. So he had the opportunity to play football, basketball, or baseball. He gave up on baseball. He said it's absolutely too hot in Texas. That was not an option. And I'm just going to be honest, I was so
So
happy.
glad.
It
Well,
was
our
hot.
son was a baseball player too. We miss it. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it was hot. But and then he kind of weeded out basketball, but probably at the age of, you talk about Pee Wee. I told you about the story on the beach, but he was out, he was playing some Pee Wee football, and really expressed an interest in all the coaches. There's something special about this kid.
Okay.
And it was, okay, that's wonderful, good information, but let's just see where he goes. Because I will tell you now, if he watches this broadcast, which I'm going to send it to him, he's going to say, "Oh no, my mom." But I remember the day that, I don't know, he got tackled something. He was probably 8 or 9 years old, and he started to bleed. And it was like, "Oh, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. Oh my goodness." So my husband said, "JoAnn, we do not have to worry about this kid playing football, because if he doesn't like the sight of blood." But see, we didn't know that he was determined. So support is just embracing where they are at the time, instilling some discipline, not really, as I said, living your dream through your son, but then also advocating for him. You know, the 50-yard line mom is all about advocating for these players. But you've got to start, it doesn't start when they get to high school, to college, and then to the pros. It starts very, very early on. And you need to determine, along with your child, what it is that they want. And then almost develop a plan. You know, at 8, 9 years old, the plan is just a little simple thing. What do you want to do when you get to middle school, to high school? So I just think those are the things that really lends itself to support. And you have to be willing to let your son fail, if you call it fail. You know, I
Yeah.
call it experience life.
Yes.
And then you also, I think you said something when we were just chatting a little bit about the parent. You want to be a coach because you think your son or daughter may have a certain talent that's not being fully displayed. You have to have the ability to know when to speak up and when to just let it ride,
Let it ride. Hmm.
to let it ride. Yeah, so that's the definition I have for support.
Oh, I love it. I think one of the things that as a coach, um I think part of that support is just showing up as parents. How important was that with just being there? Because I think I have some parents, and I get that if parents are working and their schedule doesn't
Right.
lend itself. But I take too many kids home, and then there's 2 or 3 cars in a driveway. And I'm like, why would you have not been at the game? Or why didn't you pick them up from practice? Or why? I'm asking why. What was your experience like with other parents and players when it came to just parents just being there? Was that an issue at that particular time when you guys were going
You
through
know,
that?
I think it was evolving. You know, it was evolving in the Pee Wee sport. And again, you know, every family situation is different, particularly if there are multiple children in the family that are close to the same age. Trying to navigate where
Now
you're
that
going
would
to
be
be
hard. Yes.
is pretty difficult. We read every single game. We never missed a game from the time he was in Pee Wee all the way to the pros. And I was that helicopter mom that I
Yes.
went to the preseason games and the pros. So, but I think it's extremely important because my son to this day tells us that he could always count on us being there in the stand. And we even had tradition about it. You know, for my husband and my son, it was revisiting the game. You know, his question, "Dad, what did you think? How did I do? What could I have done differently?" Mom, I know mom doesn't have a clue about football. Which was, truth be told, probably not. I said, I know everything I need to know. I know
Right.
when you are injured and when you're not. And that's the most important thing to me. But it
Mhm.
was really being able to have that visibility for him, to be able to be honest with him. But I'll tell you, Terry, more importantly, it's being visible in front of those that are making decisions about your son's future. And that's the coaches and the staff on those teams, because there's a lot that you have to step in and advocate and be a bridge for your son. But if they see a parent that's very, very interested, that's always visible, that's engaged appropriately, it goes a long way in supporting their career efforts and getting that needed attention from those that can help make decisions along the way that supports their goals.
Can you think of a time where you had to advocate for your son?
Oh,
Is there like one or one moment that was like, oh my God, yes. What can you just share that with us?
absolutely. Well, we didn't do a lot, and I set back quite a bit during those early years. My husband was more engaged. I can remember Jordan's senior year. Well, it might have been his junior year in high school. Jordan was an all-around athlete, so he played offense and defense. And so there were times that my husband said, "Oh no, my son's not playing the whole game. You have to
Okay.
take him out and let him rest." There were times you want him as a running back. Well, you're going to have to get the team engaged to support that position. So he ended up moving into defensive back role then. But for me, it was always more about his health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that I probably started getting more engaged when he became a collegiate athlete.
Okay.
Because there were two things when they were recruiting him that I shared with the coach. One is that my son is there to get a good education. He's not there to run up and down a football field. That's the first one. The other thing is his health and well-being is of top priority to me. And there were times that if you were injured, son, you're not playing. Your health is more important. At that point, we had a relationship with our son where he listened to that. And I will tell you, as he gravitated more in the pros, obviously you don't have that parental prerogative.
Right.
But if you have a relationship, and I will tell every parent, you don't start that type of relationship when they get to the pros. That starts very, very early. And if he was injured, I could look in his eyes and say, "Son, you don't need to play. Advocate for your own health." And that's when I started to get more engaged, to be more visible, particularly, as I said, in that college age, where if I needed to go down to the university and say, "Oh no, he's going to get a second opinion about what's going on."
Okay.
And you push and you navigate that. No, he is not going to take 9 hours when he can take 12 hours of classes.
Okay.
There would be times my son would call and he would say, "Mom, Dad, I don't have any free time." And my husband would say, "Do you play football?" "Yes, sir." "That is your free time." So those are the type of things being visible to the coaches, to the staff, to the educators, in the pros, we were visible. And to your point earlier, when you were talking about being visible and being there, that's not only when they're just starting in high school and then maybe in college, but there were often teams that we were on that we were always there visible, that other players who didn't have that support had several players that would come up to me and say, "Mom Pugh, can you be my mom for this evening?"
Yeah.
Game.
We're like that too.
Or after the game. That's so important.
Yeah.
Extremely important.
Yes. And for those moms that I know that, can't travel,
Yes.
I try to seek out their sons and I try to give them a hug.
Absolutely.
And I know there was one game, I saw one and I was able to get him a picture and then send a picture to his mom, just so that she can see that, he's doing well. Because if it was my son, I would want someone, there. Because like I said, everybody can't travel to every game, especially, like we just came back from Florida. We were just in Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. And so, I know a lot of parents weren't able to make that, especially when it's a single mom situation. They're not able to do that type of traveling. So yeah, that's so important with being, and of course we understand that as coaches, because like we have our 8th grade night tomorrow, And I know we're going to have to stand in the gap for a couple of parents that are probably not going to be there because they're not going to be able to get off work in time in order to walk with their sons tomorrow. And so that whole visibility thing is just really really important for me with kids. I think it just helps so much with the well-roundedness, and it's something about being supported. And when you're not feeling supported, I think it kind of carries into your relationships when you get older. It's almost like a trauma when you don't feel supported at this
I
age.
totally agree.
um
Hmm.
so okay. Oh, I got a couple people online. Hey Jock, I see you. He mentioned Earl Woods and Richard Williams. Yeah, he absolutely. Those are some great dads that advocate. Hey Stacy, I just got off a Zoom with her, and Mr. Brown says your son played outside the new initiatives in the transfer portal. Do you talk about the changes in college football and the influence of those two controversial initiatives?
Can you repeat that, the beginning of the question?
He said you your son played outside of the two initiatives like the NIL and the transfer portal. Do
Hmm.
you all talk about the changes of college football and the influence of those two controversial initiatives? Do y'all talk
Yeah,
about those now?
yeah, we do from afar. As the gentleman said, that are outside of that realm. And for me personally, as a parent, I am very, very thankful that we are. Because I think although there are opportunities, there are also some limitations from more than financial impact, around that. As far as my organization, 50 Yard Line Mom, I focus more on the health and well being, even though part of that is financial.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to keep up with what's going on, uh, but it's not a major focus of mine or my mission and goal at this point. As I said, some days I have mixed feelings about what's going on with the athletes. It's really interesting to me. I can recall my son's signing day, uh, from high school to college.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about his athletic prowess and his ability. And we didn't have the three hats and which one did I
Right.
choose. We made a decision, and that was the decision. And oftentimes I wonder, and this is the mom coming out in me, when we give so much attention at such a very, very young age, what is there to look forward to moving forward? What's that next challenge? And so that gives me some pause sometimes in thinking about the direction of sports and where we're going.
That is a really good topic right there, because I think what a lot of kids do, because I think there needs to be more, especially with what you're doing, there needs to be more sports psychologists, I think, available for the mental part, because it's also mental. But I think that there's a lot of players that get to a point where sometimes their career is cut short and their identity is caught up so much in them being that elite athlete. And then now they start spiraling down because they don't know what that next level is. I what would you suggest
Oh boy, I love that
parents
question.
to do
I love that
to
because
prepare their child for the next, because football is going to, it's only a 3 year average career span, so you might just do your rookie contract and it's hard getting past that rookie contract. What do you suggest for parents to prepare their son to not get, especially at this age, at a young age, to help their son to not be caught up in their identity of being, I'm a football player? How do we navigate through that as parents before our sons get to the college and the pro level?
I think, boy, I love that question. I absolutely love it because it is a passionate question for me. I think what you do is you start at a very, very age instilling and identifying their other gifts and talents. We have a tendency you get all of the accolades, all of the can claps, for scoring that touchdown or making that play. But one of the things that, and I think this was more me than my husband, it was I always tried to share with Jordan what other gifts he had. Son, you are absolutely wonderful speaker. That was a communicator, your presence. And started that very early on, in college. Okay, what is it that you're passionate about outside of football? What could you see yourself doing after you leave the league? Now, when they're in college, all they see is the league.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I say you really have to start early in planting those seeds. It just breaks my heart sometimes when I hear athletes and say, that's all I know.
Yes.
That's who I am.
That's who I am. Yes.
No, that is not who you are
Right.
in totality. And so I think it's, and a parent, coach, coaches that see something unique and deeper than what you see displayed from an athletic standpoint. Anyone can instill something in you, not to hinder what your passion and your drive and your goal is, but to support, to your point, that mainly 2.5 years after
Yes.
that you have to look outside, above, and beyond. Because I will tell you, having experienced this pretty much, and I don't call it the complete journey yet because we're still in the journey. And
Okay.
my son has transitioned out of the league. He's probably been out of the league now about 8 years, but the journey continues.
Okay.
And yeah, so you have to really start very, very early on preparing him or her for other opportunities that they have.
As a coach, one of the things that we talk about with the kids is that sports is just the springboard to whatever you're going to do, because what you want is a free education. If you could use sports just to get college paid for free. I was one of those that got caught up in the whole student loan debt.
Mm.
And because I turned down sports scholarships because I had a ACL tear. So I got in my own head about being able to heal from it and being able to come back from an ACL tear, that I just took the academic, but right. And so I ended up taking out student loans, and I'm like, golly, and so when I met my husband, he's like, I never dealt with student loan. Everything was just, that's not a debt that I have to deal with,
Mhm.
but for my majority of my adult life up until shoot, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was dealing with student loan debt before I finally got rid of it.
Right.
And so now I just say, just use sports as it's not your identity. It's just a stepping stone to get to a free education so that you can figure out and then get to whatever that you want to do. You're going to go pro in something. It doesn't necessarily have to be the NFL or baseball or whatever it is, but you're going to go pro in something. And so use sports to pay for it for free. And then now you can go pro in whatever it is that your occupation is going to be. So that's kind of the language that I use now as a coach, as opposed to just let's go to the league, go to the league, go to the league. Yeah. Um, so how much did here's a good question.
Mhm.
How much did C19, known clinically as COVID, challenge your organization? Was that a challenge?
Um, in terms of, I'm not quite sure I'm understanding where this question is going. In terms of my organization from a overall health and wellness standpoint, what it provided for me was opportunity for education.
Oh, good, good.
An opportunity for educating not only, we focus a lot on the players, but we also need to focus on those that support those players, the families.
Okay.
And so what was very interesting, I'll tell you, as part of what I do in terms of advocating for player health. I don't know if we talked about this or I mentioned it prior, but I am on the advisory board at Harvard University. Harvard University, their medical school has a research program. and it's called the Football Players Health Study at Harvard University. This is my eighth or ninth year on the
Oh,
advisory board. Yeah, yeah, it's just been an absolute blessing. And what I really, really admire and like about this study is that it's a holistic approach. You know, most of the time when we're talking, we hear about CTE and, you know, dementia and all of those things, but people don't think about the cardiovascular risk, you know,
mm,
the emotional risk, mental health type risk. And so this study really looks at that complete or the holistic approach to the player. So during that course of COVID, it really opened up a lot of opportunities to talk more about the holistic approach. It gave opportunity for me from a healthcare background to have conversation with parents, with coaches, and with players about what this meant and the impact that it could have and the precautions and the things that that you needed to take. And probably if there was a challenge, it was a lot of the misconception and misinformation around the whole disease state. So I think that you know, from a healthcare standpoint, that was the major challenge. From a mother standpoint, by that time my son had already transitioned out of the league, but he was very much engaged because he has athletic program for young men from a football standpoint at this point. So just educating those parents about what this meant from overall short and long-term health perspective. So was that the, I'm not quite sure if that answered.
I don't know, but that was a great answer. I
But
think to piggyback on that, so I don't know what it was, but I kept seeing during that time lots of athletes that were just, I don't know, there was some type of reaction. I don't know if you had saw that, but they were just showing all of these athletes that were just literally passing out on the field during C-19, and I'm not sure if it what it was related to. Did you hear anything about what that was about? I don't know
now,
if that was something that
sure
came
what,
up during that time.
yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to
Okay.
with that. So no, that was not something that I really observed. Um,
Okay.
you know, as I said, I think there was so much going on that could have been typical play
Right.
that was attributed to the disease process that was going on.
Gotcha.
So it was really about trying to allay some of the anxiety. Let's take a look at the real information that's out here and take a look at your son. You know, I'll tell you, I am a big proponent. I know that schools do a very nice job of trying to manage the health of these athletes. But no one does a better job than you, the athlete, or the family. So if you are in situations where you have any questions about what's going on, don't be afraid or hesitant to get a second opinion.
Mm,
Advocate for yourself, get the information that you need. And I think that that's very important. You know, COVID kind of brought this more to the forefront, but this is something that's ongoing as we look at all of the, you know, the physical and emotional challenges that a lot of these young athletes are facing right now.
ooh, you just hit a trigger for me when you just said that, because I tore my ACL probably my freshman year in high school, and it was undiagnosed. And so I ended up always like hurting my knee, or it would come out of joint. And so I missed out on a lot of I was getting a lot of the letters, but I missed out on a lot of opportunities. But it never occurred to me, or probably my family back then, to go get a second opinion.
That is so important, and it's key. And you have the right to ask for a second opinion. You know, pay attention. And here's the other thing, Terry, that I always share with family members or those who are acting and supporting and advocating for their player family. Know your health history. Know your health family history. And there are so many opportunities to be on the proactive and preventative aspect of your overall healthcare. Just because you are 18 years old and you are an athlete, there can be a stereotype that you're the epitome of health.
Mm-hmm.
But you take a look at some of the family history, and there are a lot of opportunities to understand and to know that and be proactive in your overall approach to health and wellness. So I think that, at this point, that's probably something that could be shored up with the athletic departments and in terms of players, taking a deeper dive into what that looks like as we learn more about health and learn more about opportunities of education. You're 18 years old, but you should know what your blood pressure is. No
Right.
one 18 they don't want to hear that. But if you have a strong family history of hypertension, that can be important.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So what is your suggestion for parents when it comes to um okay, it's football. My daughter has already told me that if she has a son, he's not going to play football.
I knew this was coming up. So finish your question.
What I'm not going to first of all, Mr. Brown said perfectly explained when you answered his question. He said
Okay.
perfectly explained,
Okay.
by the way.
Good.
Um I don't know what I want to ask. I want to ask, do how do you reassure? That's the word. How do you reassure, or how do you help families to protect their son or daughter from the risks of football?
Okay.
Is there such a thing? Because it's a risk.
Well, first of all, I think you have to be realistic and understand that there's a risk, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first thing. And then I think it goes back to what I was just saying. First of all, one of the steps is knowing your history
Hmm.
so that you can pass that on to your sons. Um, the other thing is be educated. Educate yourself on the latest and the greatest. And I think where you're probably going with this, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but here's a question
Okay.
that I'm asked all the time.
Okay.
If you knew what you know right now, would
Would
you
you
have
still
allowed
want
your son to
your son
play
to play?
football? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, had I known what I know now, the answer would have been even a more strong yes. I would have allowed him to play.
Really?
Yes.
I'm surprised.
I
I
know
I
most
thought I
people.
assumed it would have been no.
Most people do, and here's the reason why: is because there has been so much new technology, so much more access to information, and the most important thing is advocacy for the health of players is in the forefront now. Parents and players are more open, still a lot of work to be done,
Mhm.
more open to speaking up when they know that something's not quite right. And you have all of the avenues now where you say, get a second opinion. Don't rely on the first. Know your son. Know if your son gets a blow to the head, you educate your son on what are the signs and symptoms of a concussion. Know what that means. But then you also reassure him this is just a game. This is about your health. You love
Yes.
the game, you can play. But I
Mhm.
want you to be totally prepared that in the event you do get an injury, that you're willing to sit out. You're willing to heal. You're willing to get a second opinion. You're willing to understand what the short and long term effects of that are. And now that I see the technology that's been being developed, I
Mhm.
see the research that's being done, I see the education that's available. I would be more comfortable now because I know more than I knew then.
Right.
Yes. And I'll
Oh.
tell you one other thing. there's something about um, dampening and hampering someone's dream, being a dream,
Mm,
you know? I
yes.
think ways of supporting, and that's by advocating for their own health. You teach them to be advocates.
Hmm.
There's a point where the answer is no. And I think when you have all of those tools together, it really helps you to prepare yourself and to prepare your child to be more in tune to their body, to their rights as an athlete, to their rights for the advocating of their health, and then ultimately for a better outcome. Still, put in all the safety measures. I'm not saying that, but there's more of them available now than there was when my son was playing.
I think I saw a video with Joe Namath.
Mm-hmm.
And are you familiar with what he did to reverse? He reversed some type of brain thing. He had us CAT scan, and then he used oh my God, I can't remember the name. I should have wrote it down. He used something, and it was almost like a hyperbaric. It might have been that some type of hyperbaric chamber or something, and he was able to reverse some of the brain damage that he had endured during football. And so now he's kind of talking about that, as far as it's something that every school and every team should have on hand. Are you familiar with that? If not, I think you should look into it.
Well, let me tell you, now I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
I am familiar with current research.
Okay. What is
I'm not
research telling
familiar with
us?
any research that supports that at this point. I'm not
Uh-oh.
saying it doesn't exist. I'm not familiar with any.
Okay.
Um, I can tell you that in terms of concussions,
Mm-hmm. Is that me or you? Hold on, hold on, hold on. We got a little glitch in the internet. So it's on my end. Okay. I don't know if it's on my end or if it's on her end, but we're gonna it looks like on my end I'm still going, but I think it is on my end. So we'll see whether or not she comes back or whether or not I need to log back on. So anyway, just hold tight. So this was a great information. Mr. Brown, are you still, if you're still on, can you respond? If there's anybody that's still on, can you respond? Mm, mm, mm. Boy, when I tell y'all uh I can't stand technology sometimes, because technology is absolutely off the rocker, because it just does not do anything. I know one of the things for me is that she was just getting ready to talk about concussions, and I would like to know if there's anybody, what is your um somebody's opinion about oh, hey, Mr. Brown, thank you. I didn't know if it was me or her. So Mr. Brown, what did you think about Tua coming back and not wearing the soft cap? um I felt like he should wear the soft cap, but I also feel like he should not come back. He should just go ahead and retire, because he has been lit up several times. And I'm really concerned about his health. And I think that if I would have been his wife or his parent, I would have been like, no, we're done. Right. And I think it's one of those situations where um, your a player's identity is so much into who they are as a player that they just can't give it up. And so you're willing to risk your life instead of just going ahead and just giving it up. What did you think about Tua um, coming back? Is it because I just thought it was just too much. I might have to send you the link and get you to come on. Will you come on if I send you the link? Oh, maybe I am off. I still see people on, and um I am not sure where. But anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. I want to go ahead and give my announcements while in case she's able to pop back on. So y'all do know that I'm on the board of the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame. Hey, Ladybug.
Hi. I don't. It's not. It's it's like the site went down.
Oh, really? So when you sent the link, because I'm still live.
Yeah, no, it went down and it just kept spinning and I can't get back in.
Get back
It's telling
in.
me it will not load.
Oh.
So let me, I will try to go out again.
Or try on your phone.
Pardon me?
Try your phone. See if it'll
Okay.
let you log in on your phone. But if not, that's okay. That's okay. It was a great that was pretty good. It was a really good show.
Hold on, let me try one more time.
Right. So anyway, if you guys go to layshoff.com and you are from Lexington and you have someone that you want to nominate, that nomination process is ending on October 31st. So you
nominate for what?
Oh, for the Lexington African American Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you know somebody from Lexington that you feel should be oh, thank you, Sports Chat. Yeah. So people are still now, so I'm still on. So if you guys know someone from Lexington that you feel that should be nominated for the Lexington African American Sport Hall of Fame, make sure you go to layshoff.com. I think I have a banner on here. Here it is right here. Go to layshoff.com and there should be something on there where you should be able to nominate someone. But that deadline, in order for them to be in the process for the class of 2025, the deadline is October the 31st. Okay. So
okay, send me that information. Just send it to me in an email or something like that, and I'll take a look at it. I'm still trying to see if I can get back in here.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you want to go ahead and end it, we can. But let me see if I can. Let me try it on my phone. Don't know that.
Yeah,
I hate it that
I hate that we got cut off. Yeah, I know, I do too. But again, I hate technology because it was getting good because you were just getting ready to talk about concussions, and and of course I had that question coming up because Tua decided to come back, and I thought Tua should have retired.
Yeah.
And then he said that he chose not to wear the soft cap. And I'm
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was like, why would you risk that? And again, I felt like that was one of those situations where a player must feel that his identity is in being a player instead of that this is just a game and this is something that you do. And I get it that sometimes it gets cut off sooner than what you want to, but you've got to have that plan B. Or like you said, that plan A, because that should be the plan B. The football is plan B because it's not only going to last what you said 2.5 years, 3 years tops. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. It might. Can you see me? Let me see.
Yeah. No, ma'am. Yeah, you'll pop in. You haven't popped in yet.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm still talking to my audience. Oh, and by the way, so if you guys are Oh, let me go back to here. She said, I don't think Tua should play again this season for sure. His return after injuries has been slow and very non-productive. Yeah, I don't, yeah. Thanks, Portia. I agree. I don't think so. If that was my son and my son has had a concussion before, and it really scared us because it scared him because he was like, oh my God, I'm trying to remember and I can't remember. And he was crying to his dad that, oh my God, I can't remember. And I forgot what it was. Okay. But he was able to kind of get through it. Okay, you know what? Let me hang up the phone because we're probably being on the phone is probably keeping you from logging in on the phone. Okay. Okay. and so um what so that was something that with when our son had got a concussion, it was concussion. What, baby? Yes, I'm on the air live. He was taking trig and he didn't know what 97 minus 9. Oh yeah, he was taking trig at the time, and or something, and he couldn't remember what 97 minus 9 was, and it scared him because he wasn't able to remember. And so we went through the concussion protocol with him, and then it just kind of just went from there. But he was able to get through that, but we haven't experienced where he experienced multiple concussions. Now he did break his thumb in high school, and he's had like a little small little stuff with a finger or bruises or something like that. But we haven't experienced anything with the major concussions yet. But yeah, I agree. I don't think he should come out. Not using that tool to protect his head, particularly him having 2 serious concussions, it will lead to mandatory policy from the league. I agree, Mr. Brown. I think that there should be a mandatory policy that after you've gotten so many concussions, that you should be required to wear. It should be mandatory to wear the protective cover on that. So yes, absolutely. Any more questions? I guess my baby, she's not going to come back on, but we will definitely have her back on again. It's just technology. I can't stand technology sometimes. That's what happens when you do things virtually. You just never know when the internet is going to act a fool. It just is what it is. If there's any more question, I'm trying to think. Do I have any more? Oh, y'all know my women's team, the Derby City Dynamite, is having a game at the Titan Stadium on November the 16th, I think, whatever the Vikings game is. So wherever the Titans are playing the Vikings, my women's team is playing, and you can actually get tickets for $40. And if you go to Derby, I think you can. Let me see if I have a banner for the Derby City Dynamite. Yeah, I think if you go to derbycitydynamite.com, I think you can go there and get it. I'm not sure, but you go to derbycitydynamite.com or go to the Facebook page of the Derby City Dynamite women's tackle football, and you should be able to see that. Make sure you guys follow me on Hits and Heels on Facebook, and also on I'm not on YouTube. YouTube's the main one. If you go to YouTube, it's at Hits and Heels on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe so that way when we go live, you'll get the notification when we go live. Because I have some great guests that are just like today. How great our guest was. I have some great guests still lined up for the future, and you guys are not going to want to miss it. I appreciate Mr. Brown and everybody. And I can't see who else is on, who came on today, and always supporting Sports Chat with Nat. Thank you for being on. Of course, my Stacy and my whole Black Women That Love Football group. I appreciate you, Jock Wigginton. Thank you for being on. I'm trying to make sure that I didn't miss anybody else. And that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the show for today. And make sure. Oh. Hold on. I think I have her banner. You guys have got to go and get more information. This is her link. The 50yardlinemom.com. Her name is Jo Ann Pugh, and you've got to get the information. And whatever we can do to support her program, make sure you guys go and support her. But go ahead and go to her website, the 50-Yard Line Mom, and support my girl JoAnn. She's an advocate for families, all athletes, and their health, and the support of because your health is your greatest wealth. Make sure we're protecting yourself. Make sure, matter of fact, in my last group I just got off of, we were talking about starting a health initiative within our group, and we're starting something on November 1st in our Women That Love Football group, so that we can make health, just a better priority. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate you. And oh yeah, make sure you connect with Sports Chat with Nat YouTube. Oh, she's back. I was getting ready to log off. Hold on. Let me see. She might be back. So we could say bye. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate you. And of course, I appreciate all of your engagement as usual, and your absolutely great questions. I appreciate that. There she is. Look at you. Look at you making it back on. Just in the nick of time. We got about, I was getting ready to shut it down, but you gave me an
Yes, I'm
opportunity to do some little announcements and stuff that I needed to get out of the way
I,
so it didn't interfere with
I
us.
am
So yeah, I
so
appreciate you.
sorry. I don't know.
No,
Apparently it was on my end.
no, you are
We
good.
had nothing.
But I gotta hear what you were getting ready to say about concussions and before we go, and then we'll shut it down.
Yes. What I was going to say is, I think you were talking about some research. I'm not familiar with that, and I try very much
Okay.
not to speak on something that I'm not familiar with. But I will tell you
Okay.
that there is research out there that demonstrates that there's a protein in the brain that is very visible called tau protein.
Tau. How do you spell that?
TAU. And
TAU. Okay.
mhm. And that oftentimes that is seen on the brain when there's a concussive event, and given enough time to heal, that they see that tau protein lessens. And so my message from a healthcare perspective, being a nurse, and what I know is we have got to encourage these young men, women, because women suffer concussions as well, and their families, to not rush these players back into the game. Allow that brain to heal. And I think that that's probably the most important thing that you can do at this point. Again, I try not to speak on research that I'm not aware of. I'm very, being a healthcare professional, I am very, very cautious about speaking to things that may be out there in the media that I don't have research support on. The other thing that I did hear a little bit, you all were talking about Tua. And I want to share that when you asked me the question, or how do we protect, and I prompted saying that, would I allow my son to play given what I know now? And the answer was yes. But here's what I will tell you, that is an extreme concern, this young man of mine.
Yes.
I'm looking at it from a healthcare professional standpoint, and I'm looking at it from a parent. And I would have a real difficult time saying yes to my son to go back out.
Yeah, that's what me and Mr. Brown was just talking about. That, matter of fact, he just said it. He said it's very troubling. He said it's troubling with him refusing assistance from modern day tools.
Yes.
Like the soft cap. Like, why would you not use that? Yeah. And I hope that the league makes that mandatory in the future, so that where they just don't have a choice, where if you start seeing multiple concussions, when you get to you've got to start using the soft cap, or just give everybody a soft cap from the get-go. If it's a better protection, then let's just go strictly to the soft caps if it's better protection. I don't know what that
I hope
research
we get to a point where young men, I think you said it very, very clear early on, that this is a point in time in your life, and there's so much more life to live after the game.
Yes.
And so I hope that we can get players to really understand that this is not your total identity. And I think that that'll go a long way in helping to make the right determination or the right decision
Mhm.
about the future of your health and all the risk associated with the game. With
Absolutely.
athletics
So
over.
do I have your website on here correctly? How do we
That's it.
support you? How do we support you?
Well, first of all, as I said, I'm an advocate for players. So anytime I have opportunity to share information, give a little bit of my background and history, and we didn't get into a lot of this, but my son was injured as a football player, permanent
Mm,
injury. Yes, yes. He received a concussive blow to the head during beginning of the season in the league. They were having a little mini camp, and as a result of that, he has permanent hearing loss in one of his ears, chronic vertigo, um, chronic tinnitus in the ears. So I know about injuries in football, and I know about head injuries in football. So anytime that I have opportunity to speak, to share my story, to advocate for these players and their families and their overall health, I am more than happy to share any information that I can. The other thing is one of the things that I did very early on in my son's career was I didn't have a resource, and I wanted to know all I could about what he was entering into the industry. Wasn't there, so I wrote a book called The 50-Yard Line Mom: One Mom's Journey to the NFL or through the NFL and beyond. This is the book, and it talks about all of the things, some of the things that we were talking about tonight. But it was a journey that I took with my son that I hope will be of value to parents and to others who are very much interested in the game and athletics overall. So those are just more than anything. I just want to get information and to advocate for these players' health, whether it's advocating in the league, advocating at the schools, advocating in parent circles, to be aware, to be informed, to be educated about what it is that you can do to protect our young men and women.
so can we get the book from the 50yardlinemom.com, or is it available
It's
in
on
like on
Amazon.
Amazon?
It's on Amazon. On Amazon.com, you can get it. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Now, is it only on Amazon or is it on both your website and Amazon? Do you have a
It's,
link on?
it's on Amazon. I don't have it
It's
on
on
my
Amazon. Okay,
website.
yes, ma'am. You don't have it on. Yes, ma'am. Okay, cool. So that's easy. Let's go to Amazon and
Mhm.
go get the 50-yard line mom book so that you can help to advocate for your son. That's right. I'm sorry. I wish I'd have known how to order that before.
Oh,
I'd have had it here and I'd have showed it. But so let's so we're gonna log off. I already got you over an hour, and I want to respect your time. I appreciate you so much for coming on.
thank you for
Um,
having me.
I
And
think this topic.
thank you for doing what you're doing and creating some visibility. I consider you an advocate for these young men and women as well. So thank you for all that you do and having this show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think my biggest advocacy is mainly for women in sports, of course. I'm a football coach. No, there's no football coach, not a lot of women football coaches. And that was my motivation for starting Hits and Heels, for those that wanted to know. And then my husband, again, he made me his assistant head coach. There's not any men that are putting their wives on their staff. And so I love our story of that. And I'm thankful for him for that. But so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But this topic is probably of anything other topic is probably one of the absolute most important one, because football is my husband said it's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport.
It
Um,
is. It
and it
is.
is a lot of risk that is involved. And I totally understand, again, my daughter and other moms that have chosen to not allow their sons to play
Mhm.
football.
Yes.
but I do love all of the benefits and the life lessons and the that football creates
Hmm.
um, for young men and hopefully and young women because flag football is the fastest growing sport right now in America for girls. But I do coach women's tackle football and we have that league as well. So thank you again. I appreciate you. For everybody, go to Amazon.com and get the 50-yard line mom book. Jo Ann Pugh is her name, and make sure that we support her because she is doing something very, very important. And the biggest sport or the largest sport is football.
Well, I'm in Texas and it's a religion here.
It's
So,
really, yeah, oh, absolutely. They do it. Well, they do everything big in Texas, but it is, yes, football is, when you have 70, 80 at the Dallas Stadium, 100,000 people showing up for, there's no other sport that's packing stadiums like that besides American football. I mean, maybe they're doing it for soccer overseas or something like that, but I don't ever hear about stadiums that as
yeah,
big as our football stadiums that we have here. So thank you again, JoAnn. I appreciate you so much. I'm gonna
you're
end the stream, but don't log off, okay? All
okay.
right, everybody. I love y'all. Appreciate you. Oh, Mr. Brown, I see your yes, we had a Vandy player injured, yes, at the Vandy game, and he was rushed to the hospital. The parents came on the field, but he did return to the sideline near the end of the game. So apparently it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. But thank you so much. Anyway, thank you so much, JoAnn. I appreciate you, but don't go nowhere.
Yeah.